Welcome back to Talk of the Town on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
And we welcome you back to Talk of the Town for this Monday, October the 19th. Monday, third Monday of the month. We have a chance to chat about some of the things going on in the legislature with first-term Republican State Senator Roger Victory, who represents most of Ottawa County in the State Senate. He's on the other side of our Zoom connection this morning. Roger, good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Gary, and thank you for altering the schedule, because he probably has heard with Senator Nesbitt. He had a busy schedule, and I myself. So I have a statewide meeting with issues dealing with food accessibility and those issues, and some things, lessons learned from COVID. So both of us are hard at work, but it's great to be able to join you this morning too, even though it might be for a little shorter period of time.
If you got a question for State Senator Roger Victory, he'll be happy to answer it at 395-1450, 395-1450. I'm going to pose this question to you that we posed to State Senator Eric Nesbitt in the last half hour or so. Since last we chatted, Roger, the plot, the coup, for lack of a better term, against the state government was disclosed. And it does lead to the question, do you feel safe right now? We might be on a Zoom situation, but do you feel safe working in the state capitol these days?
Yeah, overall, yes, I do feel safe. We have a very good protection force. We have our Senate sergeants. We have sergeants that work on the House side. Majority of these are former law enforcement that do an outstanding job. Along with that, they're complemented with state police officers throughout the Capitol and those areas too. So, but overall, the area is very frustrating when people, want to resort to terrorism or these type techniques. And we have a open society, and we have an opportunity to go and vote. That is the area that voice should be exercised, and not through bully techniques, violence, intimidation, or even going out there and implementing pure violence.
Now, there has been some criticism levied that perhaps lawmakers should have been aware of the situation before finding out, like the most of the rest of us, a week ago Thursday, this threat did come about, was sort of kept close to the vest of law enforcement. We can understand maybe not letting the cat out of the bag to be able to make sure all the perpetrators, the accused perpetrators, are rounded up and none slip through because of possible leaks. But still, your safety, and I'm talking about lawmakers' safety, is there, and yet you guys were as much in the dark as the general public was.
Yeah, Gary, that I agree with you on some of that statement there that we were kind of left out in the dark. And there's methods and reasonable ways to implement a little higher knowledge. We've done that in the past at the federal level. There's like a red risk, orange risk, kind of a colored risk kind of component. And I believe that could have been maturely communicated to the legislative bodies, the House and the Senate, because also as we find some of this testimony going through the FBI findings, that they were threatening not just the governor, but the legislative body too. So there will be lessons learned on this component. And I believe even our sergeants in the Senate, they're going to be putting their lives at risk. And did they know about this? And if they had some at least understanding, a little heightened awareness of it, their lives, our lives, it's very critical sometimes to have some basic communication. Let me repeat that. We don't need to have the specifics. The FBI, the Department of Justice, we're doing brilliant work on it, but just some basic concerns. Be a little more alert as we are in our home areas or in Lansing. Just double check. Keep awareness, and if we had that, that's a part of basic 101 of security.
395-1450. You have a question for State Senator Roger Victory of Hudsonville. Some of the comments attributed to President Trump was part of the reason that Governor Whitmer said, these threats did come. It was sort of led a little bit by what the president has said and done. Then the president had his rally in Muskegon on Saturday where there were a chance of lock her up against Whitmer, and he says, well, lock them all up. And then the governor comes back and makes some comments on Meet the Press, NBC's program, and wears a 86 45 pin that some say is a threat against the president. It's just fueling the fires both ways. What we're seeing in this, or what?
Yeah, this needs to get tampered down. It was very quick to be on the morning talk shows from the governor Sunday morning, and there are aspects. There was, at the rally, there were those chants, and I also saw the president there's also nonverbal reactions from the president as he kind of moved his hand, like, okay, look, quiet, no, suppress that there, because there are real issues that we need to be discussing here. We're talking about the economy, other aspects, and there's excitement among the people. But also, I do believe what Speaker Chatfield highlighted: we have to be mature about this here and make sure that rhetoric doesn't get taken out of context by those few outliers, because there's always that 1% that can take that and harm not just the governor but even the legislative body there. So again, we need to be focusing on the issues that are at hand. There's plenty of those issues out there, and make sure also don't fuel that fire of that outlying component on both sides. We've seen that on both sides with the people that have threatened the governor and their plot. We also seen our local even in the city of Grand Rapids, police vehicles being burnt, violence being demonstrated. So that way we got to be careful not to fan those fires on either direction.
395-1450. You have a question for State Senator Roger Victory. Last week, the Senate went to work on codifying some of the measures that the governor's executive orders got wiped out on because of the Supreme Court ruling. I mentioned this to Eric Nesbitt, and it said it had the appearance like the governor says, need these, got to have the legislature back in action immediately to codify some of these things. It's almost as if she snaps her fingers. Here comes the legislature.
Gary, not at all. Not at all. That is what the result of the governor not willing to work with her legislative body. The number of these issues were bills that we passed, we worked hard on, and she vetoed those. And suddenly when the Supreme Court of the state of Michigan validates what her role is, what her power is, suddenly she's out there needing these things taken care of. And so we use this opportunity and actually leverage the opportunity, because there was a lot of trial attorneys out there like sharks circling in the water going for blood because they see a rich area of lawsuits. So with this, what we worked with, making sure there's limited liability. Basically, if you're doing best practices in your business in that area there or in medical area, you can't become a victim of these trial attorneys that just want to suck every bit of last blood out of you because they see a new economic opportunity for them because of COVID. So, and I know the administration was pushing back on it, but we were able to do our part. And also with our rest homes, putting best practices in that area, that holding the administration accountable. So a lot of work went into it. That's why we were there till 2 a.m. But at the end of the day, made Michigan a better place.
Do you get a sense that some of the measures that the State Department of Health and Human Services have taken since the Supreme Court decision on the governor's executive orders is more like an end run by the administration to get what they want done and say, well, if the governor can't do it themselves, we'll let the health department take care of it?
Yeah, it's another extension of the tool that the administration's using. But as with health department, if you dig into some of these rules and regs, there's more opportunity to be pushed back. We've done some serious work in our office, seeing some of the nuances of it. So there's a more of appeal process. If there's overreach, there's more avenue for the people to push back on that and have hearings outside the executive orders. So there's a soft underbelly to some of these rulings from these health departments and Department of Health and Human Services.
395-1450. You have a question for State Senator Roger Victory. We'll take it. We have about 5 more minutes to go in this particular segment. I didn't have a chance to ask Eric this, but I'm going to ask you this. After we get past the political Armageddon, after we get past November 3. Do you have a sense that lawmakers will be busy over the last 5 or 6 weeks of the session in lame duck, or do you have a sense that because we still have split government with the Democratic Party in control of the executive branch and the Republicans in control of the legislative branch, that we might not have as a hectic of a lame duck session this time around as we've had, say, at the end of 2018 or 2016 earlier on with these sessions?
I believe we'll have a fairly busy lame duck session because there's a lot of issues I would refer to lessons learned from COVID. Similar to last week, we were there till 2 a.m. in the morning. There's a lot of things that need to be done for the betterment of the state of Michigan. And just like after I get done with this radio interview here, the issue I'm working with is a bipartisan issue. It's been dealing with food accessibility and lessons learned, and probably how do we have more accessibility to local food and processing in all those areas. So these are issues that are pertinent on both sides of the aisle, and will be in some of them are time sensitive. So I would say, and I'm looking forward to a very robust and busy lame duck session. And I will do what I can to represent the good folks of the 30th district right here in Ottawa County, bringing their voice to the table and all the residents of the state of Michigan.
Let's talk a little bit about this food accessibility issue in our final few moments, Roger, in the sense that the concerns about a second or maybe even third wave of COVID-19 hitting the United States. And we're getting into colder weather. We're getting into the holiday season, and getting this food, people getting to the food. It's going to be more of a dicey situation as we get further and deeper into possibly winter.
Yeah, Gary, you're nailing it right there. One aspect, we live in Ottawa County. We have that food somewhat readily accessible on some of the local farms. But we discovered, even though you see those hogs or those beef cattle walking through the fields, but how do you get that to be processed into the local person? Because there's such a limited capacity. We have regulated this industry to such an extreme that there's such a few limited processing facilities. So we have to make sure that lessons learned is we have the beef, we have the pork, we have the lamb, right? We can visually see it. How can we get that to the freezer, to the kitchen of the local person right in that community? And there's some serious roadblocks preventing that from happening.
State Senator Roger Victory, I want to thank you very much for joining us today on WHTC's Talk of the Town. Hopefully all will be well between now and the next time we chat in November. Look forward to our conversation then. Roger, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you for all the listeners out there WHTC and at 1450. It's always a pleasure communicating with all the good folks of the area.
Thank you very much, Roger Victory on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.